The chamber of the Galactic Council was vast, larger than any hall humanity had ever built. It was shaped like a great circle, with seats rising upward in tiers, each seat filled by a representative of one of the many alien races that ruled the stars. The ceiling shimmered with artificial light that looked like a sky of endless stars. Holographic banners floated in the air, marking each delegation. The room was filled with thousands of voices, harsh, deep, melodic, and strange, all of them clashing together in a storm of sound. Yet beneath the noise, there was only one question, one matter that had brought all of them together. What should be done about humanity? The council speaker, a tall being of light and shadow, raised its clawed hand. Instantly, silence spread through the chamber, and all those alien eyes turned forward. The speaker's voice carried with authority, echoing as if the walls themselves repeated the words. The question is simple. Shall humanity be destroyed? The words were heavy. They fell like stones in a deep ocean. For a moment, there was no answer. Then the first alien hand rose. It was scaled and sharp, the hand of a warlord species that had conquered countless systems. The second hand followed, then a third, then 100 more. In wave after wave, the delegation stood and raised their arms, claws, tendrils, or wings. The decision moved like fire across dry grass. Race after race chose the same path. Yes. Humanity must be destroyed. The chamber shook with the noise of agreement. Voices thundered together, some chanting, some hissing, some roaring. A storm of alien sound filled the air. The speaker did not stop it. He let the voices rise higher, let the unity of purpose be known. Humanity was dangerous. Humanity was too young, too reckless, too ambitious. They had expanded into the stars too quickly, learned too much too fast, and refused to bow before older powers. And so the council had come to this day, the day when they would decide humanity's fate. Every seat but one had chosen. On the lower level of the chamber, where the light was brightest, sat the delegation of Earth. Only 3 humans were present. They did not stand. They did not raise their hands. They did not speak. They sat in silence, their faces calm, their bodies still, as if the storm of voices around them did not matter. Whispers spread. Alien voices hissed and muttered, their translators spilling words into the air. Why were the humans silent? Did they not understand? Did they not care? The speaker turned his burning gaze toward them. Humanity, he said, you have heard the will of the council. Do you not respond? But the humans did not move. The silence from the human seats grew heavier than all the shouting of the aliens. The storm of sound slowed, then stopped. One by one, the voices of the council faded, until only the hum of the chamber remained. Every eye, every sensor, every attention was on those 3 humans. Finally, one of them, a woman with sharp eyes and a steady face, leaned forward just slightly. She did not rise, and she did not speak loudly. Her words came clear, but soft, almost a whisper. We hear you. That was all. No protest. No argument. No threat. Just those 3 words. The council erupted again. Some races laughed, their voices screeching with triumph. Others hissed in suspicion. A few muttered in private languages that translators did not catch. But one thing was certain, humanity had given no resistance, no plea, no warning. They had simply accepted the judgment. The speaker raised his hand once more. Then it is decided. By the will of the council, humanity is declared an enemy of the galaxy. Their colonies are to be cut off. Their ships are to be destroyed. Their people are to be erased. Let it be recorded. Let it be known. The decision was final. The council had spoken. The war against humanity had begun. And yet, even as alien voices shouted with victory, even as messages of war spread across the stars, a strange unease crept into the room. It was not spoken, but it was felt, like a cold shadow against fire. For the humans did not argue, and they did not beg. They only listened. Their silence was louder than the council's decision. The 3 humans rose slowly from their seats. Without a word, they bowed their heads slightly, not in surrender, but in something else, something no alien in that chamber could understand. Then they turned and walked away, their footsteps quiet on the shining floor. The great doors opened and closed behind them, and they were gone. The council chamber was filled with whispers again. Why no defense? Why no protest? Have they accepted their death? But none had an answer. For deep inside, even the boldest voices of the council felt something they could not name. Fear. Across the galaxy, alien fleets prepared. They tightened their borders, sharpened their weapons, and filled their ships with soldiers. They expected humans to fight, to beg, or to lash out in desperation. But instead, human space grew quiet. Colonies sent no messages. Trade routes fell silent. Patrols found nothing but darkness. The galaxy thought humanity had gone weak. Some thought they had surrendered. Others thought they had run and hidden like frightened children. But in the silence of human space, something else was happening. Plans were being made. Fires were being lit. The aliens did not yet know. But they would learn. For when humanity answered, it would not be with words. It would be with fire. And the calm silence of that council chamber would be remembered, not as weakness, but as the last warning the galaxy ever received. The great hall of the Galactic Council was still echoing with the voices from the last meeting. Word of the decision had already spread through the stars. Messages raced across systems faster than light. Everywhere, alien rulers spoke the same command: humanity is now the enemy. Fleets were prepared. Warships were loaded with fuel and weapons. Soldiers stood ready on distant worlds. The galaxy moved as one body, confident in its power, certain that humanity would be crushed quickly. To them, it was not a war, it was an extermination. But something strange began to happen. The first reports came from the border colonies of Earth. Patrol ships sent to cut off trade routes returned with nothing. They found stations abandoned, docks empty, and no human ships in sight. At first, the council celebrated. They are retreating, some said. They are cowards, others laughed. Days passed. Weeks passed. Entire human settlements vanished from record. Colonies that had once shone brightly on star maps went dark. No signals, no beacons, no transmissions. Silence spread across the human frontier like a disease, swallowing system after system. Alien patrols grew uneasy. Commanders sent fleets deeper into human space, hoping to find some resistance, some army to crush, some desperate plea for peace. But instead, they found emptiness. Whole planets stripped of life, as though the humans had taken everything and vanished into the dark. The council met again to discuss the silence. The chamber, so full of fire and noise before, was now heavy with unease. Delegates whispered to one another, translators struggling to keep up. "Why are they so quiet?" one asked. "Where have they gone?" another demanded. The speaker tried to calm them. "Do not fear. This is the end of them. Humanity is broken. They flee because they know they cannot stand against us." His words carried weight, but even his voice trembled slightly, like a shadow hidden beneath the flame. Then came the first message. It was faint, carried on old human frequencies that many had stopped listening to. An alien scout ship picked it up while passing through an abandoned system. The crew played it across their comms, expecting a plea for mercy, expecting broken voices crying for help. Instead, the message was only a single sentence, repeated again and again. "We accept." The crew shivered. The words carried no fear, no weakness, just calm acceptance. The recording was sent back to the council. It played in the chamber, echoing across the walls. "We accept. We accept. We accept." The human voice was steady, cold, and patient. The council grew restless. Some races argued it was a trick, a trap laid by desperate beings. Others claimed it was surrender, the final step of a dying species. But none could explain the silence that followed. Outside the council chambers, fleets continued to report strange findings. Human outposts, gone. Weapons stockpiles, gone. Ships, gone. Everything that could be moved was taken, and everything left behind was burned. Humanity was vanishing before the galaxy's eyes, but not in defeat. It was a withdrawal, careful and precise, as if every step had been planned long before the council's vote. The council ordered its fleets forward, deeper into human space. They would find the last strongholds and destroy them. They would end this quiet war before it began. But in the shadows of empty systems, something stirred. A patrol ship entered a star system once home to a thriving human colony. They found the planet deserted, but their sensors detected faint heat trails, the kind left by large ships leaving orbit. The trails led into deep space, into the black void where no colonies were marked, where no trade routes existed. The patrol followed, but soon their signals were lost. Their last transmission was filled with static, but one word broke through before the channel went silent forever. Fire. No more was said. No more was heard. Back in the chamber of the council, fear began to creep in like smoke under a door. The alien delegates had declared humanity weak, declared them finished, but now whispers grew louder. Had they misjudged? Had the humans truly surrendered, or were they preparing for something worse? The speaker tried to hold control, but even he could not hide the uncertainty in his burning eyes. For the silence of humanity was not the silence of the dead. It was the silence of something waiting, something watching, something ready. The galaxy had declared war on humanity, but humanity had not yet answered. And when they did, the council would finally understand what silence had been hiding. Across the galaxy, fleets of the council pressed deeper into the quiet zones of human space. What had once been alive with trade ships, merchant convoys, and colonial traffic was now a dark expanse. The stars still burned, but the space between them felt hollow, stripped of the usual chatter of life. Alien commanders grew uneasy. Every mission was the same: jump into a human system, scan the planets, find nothing but emptiness. No colonies, no cities, no signals. Only ashes where civilizations once stood. Reports poured back to the council. Entire star systems that should have been defended were left without a single shot fired. Colonies that once housed millions were gone, as though the people had walked away overnight. It was not chaos. It was not panic. It was something far more unsettling, an orderly silence. Humanity had erased itself from its own borders, leaving behind nothing but hollow worlds. Some of the council races grew confident. They are broken, one delegate hissed. They run like prey before the hunter. Another laughed, claiming humanity had finally realized it could not stand against the galaxy. To them, this was proof of weakness, proof that humanity was scattering into the void, hoping to be forgotten. But not all agreed. There were whispers in the darker corners of the chamber. Why do they leave no trace? One asked. Where do they go? Asked another. The silence weighed on them, pressing harder with every empty system reported. This was not surrender. It was movement. Purposeful, hidden, and terrifyingly patient. The first signs of something more came from a council fleet patrolling near the edge of human space. They picked up a faint signal, a distress beacon repeating on an old human channel. It was weak, broken, as if transmitted from a damaged ship. The fleet commander, eager for a prize, ordered his ships to follow the signal. They jumped into the system, weapons charged, ready for a cornered human convoy. But the system was dark, its sun dim and its planets lifeless. The only sign of activity was the small beacon, blinking faintly in orbit. A lone pod drifted, scarred and burned, its signal still whispering, "Help us! Help us!" The fleet surrounded the pod. Drones were sent to investigate. The pod opened easily, too easily. Inside, there was nothing but a transmitter. No humans. No survivors. Just the repeating voice of a woman, calm and steady, "Help us! Help us!" Before the commander could react, the system came alive. From the shadow of a dead moon, ships emerged. Not alien ships, human ships. But they were different now, darker, sharper, carrying weapons the council had never seen before. They moved in silence, no signals, no warnings, only the cold precision of predators. The battle lasted only minutes. The council fleet was torn apart, its ships burned into fragments, its signals cut off before they could call for help. Only silence remained, and the faint echo of the false distress call, still repeating into the void. When no word came back, the council demanded answers. Scouts were sent to find the missing fleet, but they too vanished. The galaxy grew restless. Whispers spread like infection. "They are not gone," some said. "They are hunting us." And in the empty corridors of abandoned colonies, on worlds stripped of life, small marks began to appear, burned symbols carved into steel and stone. A circle of fire. Humanity's mark. It was not a plea. It was a warning. The aliens had expected humanity to fall with screams and fire. Instead, they had vanished into silence. And now, from that silence, the fire was returning. The council realized too late that the humans had never been prey. They had only been waiting, watching, and choosing the moment to strike. And that moment had just begun. The false distress signals did not stop. More and more fleets chased them, eager to capture the last fragments of humanity. Each time, the pattern was the same. A broken call for help on an old human channel. A flickering signal that seemed too weak to be real. A desperate voice repeating the same words, "Help us. Please, help us." And every time, those who followed vanished. The Galactic Council grew angry. Dozens of fleets had disappeared without explanation. No wreckage, no survivors, no signals returning. Entire armadas had been swallowed by the silence. Some delegates accused each other of hiding the truth, of secret alliances or betrayals. Others demanded that more fleets be sent, stronger, larger, unstoppable. So they did. A massive armada of the Council, 300 ships strong, was dispatched into human space. Their mission was simple: crush whatever resistance remained and burn every last trace of Earth's people. The commanders were confident. 300 ships were more than enough to erase a scattered, desperate species. The fleet followed another distress call. The voice this time was a man's, calm but weary, repeating the same line, "We accept. We accept." When they entered the system, it looked empty. A broken station drifted in orbit, cracked in half, still faintly powered. The distress signal came from its core. The fleet surrounded the ruins, scanning for traps. There was nothing. Only the silent station, glowing faintly against the star. Then the shadows moved. From behind the shattered husk of the station, human ships emerged, sleek, angular, built for war. They did not transmit signals, did not declare themselves. They simply appeared, their engines burning like knives of light. The Council fleet turned to respond, but by then it was already too late. The first wave of human fire tore through the lead ships. Beams of energy so focused they cut through shields as if they were paper. Missiles with trails like comets, striking with precision that no alien targeting system had ever matched. Drones poured from the human carriers, swarming like a cloud of metal insects, tearing into engines and reactors. The Council Armada tried to fight back. Hundreds of weapons lit the darkness, filling the system with flashes of deadly light. But the humans moved differently. They fought with silence, not with noise. They did not waste a single shot. Every strike was exact. Every move had been calculated. Within minutes, the proud armada was burning. Ship after ship exploded, fire blooming across the void. Commanders screamed into their comms, demanding reinforcements, but their signals were jammed. The only sound that filled their radios was the same repeating human voice, "We accept." The survivors tried to flee, but the humans did not allow it. Their ships blocked the escape routes, herding the fleeing vessels into traps. One by one, the Council ships fell, until nothing remained but drifting wreckage and fire. At the center of the battlefield, the broken station powered down. Its false distress beacon went silent. The trap was complete. Far away, in the Council chamber, reports arrived slowly. At first, the delegates refused to believe them. How could 300 ships vanish so quickly? How could humanity, a species once considered weak and young, fight with such ruthless precision? But denial could not hold. The truth spread. The humans were not hiding. They were not broken. They were waiting. They had pulled back not in fear, but in preparation. And now, they had returned, carrying weapons no one had ever seen before. The silence that had haunted the galaxy was not weakness. It was planning. It was patience. It was the sharpening of the blade. And now that blade was cutting into the heart of the Council. The aliens had declared war on humanity. Now humanity was answering. With fire. Word of the destroyed armada spread faster than the wreckage could cool. At first, the Council tried to hide it. Reports were censored, survivors silenced, and official statements called the disappearance a tragic accident or a navigational failure. But the truth slipped through the cracks. Traders whispered it in docking bays. Soldiers repeated it in hushed tones. Entire fleets had been erased, and the galaxy knew who was responsible. Fear spread like wildfire. For generations, the Council had ruled through strength. They had crushed rebellions, burned colonies, erased worlds that defied them. Never before had an enemy struck back so hard, so fast, and with such silence. Humanity had not only survived, they had humiliated the Council before the entire galaxy. Inside the Great Chamber, the delegates turned on one another. Some demanded total war, a grand crusade with every fleet, every soldier, every weapon thrown into the fight. Others warned against it, whispering that humanity had grown into something the Council could not understand. If they could destroy hundreds of ships so easily, one delegate hissed, "What happens when they strike again?" The speaker tried to hold control, his voice booming across the chamber. "They are only human. They are few. We are many. Their silence is not strength, it is weakness dressed as cunning. We will burn them before they burn us." But even as he spoke, new reports arrived. Across multiple sectors, alien strongholds were under attack. Shipyards that had supplied the Council for centuries were burning. Resource convoys were vanishing into the void, their signals cut off mid-transmission. Outposts built on barren moons reported human fleets appearing from nowhere, striking with precision, then vanishing into the dark before reinforcements could arrive. It was not one battle. It was many. Everywhere at once. The galaxy had never seen a war like this. The Council's armies were built for power, for size, for overwhelming force. But humanity was fighting with shadows. They struck where the enemy was weak, avoided where the enemy was strong, and left only fire in their wake. It was war without mercy, and it spread fear far faster than destruction. Whispers grew louder in the Council chamber. Some races began to question the vote that had started it all. "Perhaps we were wrong," one delegate muttered. "Perhaps we should have left them alone." Others argued for peace, desperate to end the bloodshed before their worlds burned next. But those voices were drowned by pride. Too much had been lost already. To admit defeat now would mean the fall of the Council itself. And so they spoke louder, shouting promises of victory, demanding more fleets, more firepower, more vengeance. Yet beneath all the noise, the same unease lingered. Every alien eye, every alien voice carried the same silent question, though none dared speak it aloud. If humanity had been preparing for this war all along, then how much stronger were they still becoming? And in the shadows of human space, fleets gathered. Not scattered ships, not small bands of survivors. Full battle groups, united, their engines burning with quiet fury. For the first time since the war began, the humans moved together, not in silence, not in retreat, but in strength. A message pulsed through the dark, carried on every stolen channel, every hijacked signal. No threats, no demands, just 6 words. You wanted war. Now you have it. The 6 words echoed through the galaxy, carried on stolen frequencies, injected into Council networks, whispered by every intercepted signal. You wanted war. Now you have it. No threats. No promises. Just a statement. Cold. Final. The Council chamber was in chaos. Delegates shouted over one another, translators struggling to keep pace with the storm of voices. Some demanded retaliation, screaming for the annihilation of Earth itself. Others argued that Earth no longer existed in any way they understood. Human colonies had vanished, their worlds emptied, their people scattered. Where would they even strike? Against shadows. Against silence. The speaker raised his clawed hand and forced quiet. His voice rang with forced strength, though the crack beneath it was clear. We are the Council. We are the rulers of the stars. We do not bow to humans. We do not fear prey. We will destroy them, no matter where they hide. But even as his words echoed, more reports arrived. Entire fleets had been hit at once. Not just on the borders, not only in the scattered edges of human space, but deep within the Council's own territory. In one sector, a human strike force had appeared inside an asteroid belt, where they destroyed refueling stations before vanishing into the void. In another, they infiltrated a defense hub and turned its weapons against its own people before leaving nothing but wreckage behind. Every attack was sudden. Every attack was precise. And every attack ended the same way, with fire consuming everything left behind. Alien commanders were confused, desperate. Their fleets were built for grand battles, for crushing opponents under sheer size. They were not designed to fight an enemy that struck from the dark and disappeared before a counterattack could even form. Whispers spread through the ranks of soldiers. They spoke of human ships that did not appear on scanners until it was too late, of weapons that burned through shields like paper, of soldiers who fought with such silence it seemed as though death itself had taken form. Fear grew in the lower ranks, and fear grew in the halls of leadership. The council tried to strike back. They gathered massive armadas and sent them into the heart of human space. But human space was no longer there. It had been stripped, abandoned, transformed. Where once there had been colonies and trade routes, now there were only traps. Minefields hidden in asteroid belts. Decoy signals that lured fleets into ambushes. Silent worlds that erupted into fire when approached. The war was no longer a war of numbers. It was a war of patience. A war of strategy. And humanity was winning. In the chamber, some delegates began to lose faith. "We cannot win like this," one whispered. "They are not fighting as we fight. They are fighting as predators. And we are the prey." Others hissed back with anger. "We cannot surrender. If we show weakness now, the galaxy will turn against us. Humanity must be crushed." But even as they argued, the truth became harder to deny. The council was bleeding. Armies once thought invincible were being reduced to ashes. Strongholds once thought unbreakable were falling in silence. Then came the message. For the first time, humanity sent out a transmission to the entire galaxy. It was brief. A single human face appeared on every screen, scarred by war, lit by the glow of fire. The voice was steady, cold, unshaken. "You chose war," the human said. "We chose patience. Now we choose fire." The message cut to black. And across the stars, the galaxy trembled. For the first time, the council realized what they were truly facing. Humanity had never been running. Humanity had never been broken. They had been waiting, watching, building their fire in silence. And now that fire was spreading everywhere at once. The war had turned into something the council had never imagined. At first, they thought it would be a swift extermination. Now, it was collapse. Entire sectors lay in ruins. Alien trade routes that had existed for centuries were shattered. Merchant stations drifted as burning wrecks. Armies that had once marched in unity now fought in fragments, scattered and broken by human ambushes. Fear became the galaxy's new currency. Every race spoke of humanity in whispers, as though saying the word too loudly might summon their fleets. "Where will they strike next?" commanders asked, but no one had an answer. Humanity moved like a shadow, appearing without warning, leaving only silence and flames behind. Inside the council chamber, the once mighty voices of authority were cracking. Delegates no longer shouted with pride, they shouted with fear. Some accused each other of weakness, of betrayal, of failing to commit enough ships. Others demanded surrender, their voices trembling as they begged to end the war before their worlds were next. The speaker tried to hold them together, but his words no longer carried the same weight. "We are the council," he repeated again and again, as though saying it would make it true. But no one believed anymore. Their fleets were falling, their worlds were burning, and their power was slipping away with every passing day. On the front lines, alien soldiers told stories in hushed voices. They spoke of human soldiers who moved like ghosts, who struck with fire and vanished into the dark. They spoke of human fleets that never made a sound, yet tore through armadas in minutes. Some swore they had seen human ships pass through their sensors without triggering alarms, as if the very void itself obeyed them. The galaxy was beginning to see the truth. Humanity was no longer the hunted. They were the hunters. And the council was the prey. World after world fell. Strongholds burned. Entire planets once loyal to the council were abandoned as their leaders fled in fear. And in the silence left behind, humanity's mark appeared again and again, a circle of fire, carved into metal and stone, left as a warning. Finally, the council's homeworld itself began to shake. Not from politics, not from arguments, but from fear that the war had come to their own doorstep. Patrols reported human fleets gathering in nearby sectors, moving with quiet precision, tightening a noose around the very heart of the council. The speaker called one last emergency session. Thousands of alien delegates filled the chamber, their voices trembling, their eyes full of dread. For the first time, they no longer argued about how to fight humanity. They argued about how to survive. But outside their grand chamber, far beyond their walls of pride and tradition, humanity's fleets were already on the move. Silent, patient, unstoppable. The Council had declared war. Humanity had answered. And now, the fire was coming for the heart of the galaxy itself. The Council chamber was silent in a way it had never been before. Thousands of seats filled with alien leaders, but no one spoke. No one roared. No one hissed. They all knew the truth. The fleets had failed. The armies had burned. The war they had begun was no longer something they could control. Outside their homeworld, the sky was not empty anymore. Human fleets hung above the atmosphere, silent and unmoving, a wall of steel and fire blotting out the stars. Their ships did not send warnings. They did not open channels. They simply waited, engines glowing faintly like embers before a storm. The speaker rose in desperation. His voice trembled though he tried to mask it with pride. We are the Council. We cannot kneel to humans. If we beg, if we surrender, our power will be gone forever. Do you not see? This is not only war, it is survival of our place in the stars. But many in the chamber no longer listened. They remembered their burning worlds. They remembered the silence before human strikes, the precision of their attacks, the merciless fire that followed. They remembered that humanity had given them a chance to choose peace once, and the Council had chosen war instead. Now, the fire they had summoned was at their door. The walls of the chamber shook. Distant thunder echoed through the ground as orbital defenses crumbled. One by one, the Council's great shields collapsed under human fire. Towers of light rained from above, tearing through the planet's atmosphere. The homeworld of the Council, the heart of galactic power for thousands of years, was burning. Inside, the delegates broke. Some cried out for peace, shouting that they would surrender everything if only the humans would stop. Others screamed with rage, demanding that they die fighting rather than bow. But none of it mattered. The great doors of the chamber opened with a thunderous sound. Light spilled inside, not the warm glow of stars, but the cold red fire of ships burning in the sky. For the first time, the Council saw them, humans, standing in silence at the threshold. Their faces carried no smiles, no anger, only the calm certainty of those who had already won. The speaker tried to speak, but his words caught in his throat. No demands came from the humans. No conditions. No threats. They simply looked upon the leaders who had condemned their species and let the silence speak for them. Then the bombardment began. From orbit, human ships unleashed their full power. Fire rained down on the capital world, tearing through cities, shattering monuments, and burning the Council's legacy into ash. The chamber shook violently, its great walls cracking as explosions thundered outside. Panic erupted among the delegates. They ran, they screamed, they begged, but the humans did not answer. At last, when the planet was engulfed in fire, when the great halls of power were nothing but rubble and smoke, a single transmission was sent across the galaxy. A human voice, calm and steady, carried into every world, every fleet, every ear that still listened. We never wanted this war, the voice said. But you chose it. And now you know the cost. The transmission ended. The Council was gone. The galaxy was silent. And in that silence, humanity stood alone, not as victims, not as prey, but as fire made flesh, a force the stars themselves would never forget.